At a boat rally in Florida, neo-Nazis flew swastika and Trump 2024 flags. The Republican candidate for the presidency referred to his opponent using the R word. And last night, Donald Trump danced like nobody was watching for 39 minutes. Please make it stop. Let's dive in, shall we? Hey everybody, and before you think I was having a meltdown myself because these things tend to be genetic. I just completely forgot that I was running the show and that I had to push the button for the intro music. So cognitively intact as far as I'm aware, but if for some reason things go south, my fellow Nerd Avengers will take care of me, which is not something we can say about the guy who danced like nobody was watching. Wow. Hey, Jen.
Hello.
I was saying before the show that I feel like John Oliver after last night. Like, we got him. Do we? I don't know. But I'm not entirely sure, Danielle, how much. I mean, obviously, it could have been worse. There are worse things that could have happened last night. But I want to play you a supercut because and remind everybody watching, this clip is 40 seconds long. This went on for 39 minutes. Okay, here we go. Buckle up.
Is this when the gummies kicked in, or is he having dementia?
Living in the new world.
Yeah, leave. I have to say, Danielle, it couldn't have happened to a nicer person than Christy Dome. There was something kind of just poetic justice about the fact that puppy murderer was stuck dealing with that. So thoughts?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Did they try and get him off the stage? Like, had he finished? Yes. Like, had he finished speaking, and then this is what happened following him speaking? No.
Okay, so this was an alleged town hall that was apparently held in a storage locker without air conditioning because at the beginning, they vet the audience, they vet the questions. I think he took 4 questions, and we're going to have a quiz about this later, actually. And then somebody fainted. And then shortly after that, somebody else fainted.
I think he took 2 questions and 2 later, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, either way, at some point, he just said, who the hell wants to listen to questions? Meaning he doesn't want to listen to questions. Let's listen to music instead. Wouldn't that be nice? And then that's what happened I think they played Ave Maria 5 times. YMCA, the anthem of manly straight men everywhere. And
time to say goodbye, which is like
which was fabulous.
Which also said, get yourself off the ground.
And Fluid's people have a cease and desist order against him, I believe.
Well, most of the music he plays is
music
by
that people
artists.
are going to sue him for.
Exactly.
I just I think look, I don't know if there's ever going to be, and I don't think that there is. I mean, we're 3 weeks until till the last day to vote. And so I don't think that there's going to be a gotcha moment with Donald Trump. But what I will say is that that was astonishing. And I think for me, it was really scary because while folks may laugh and, and there'll be memes galore and GIFs galore, the fact is that in 3 weeks, that man could be president again. In 3 weeks, that man could have control of the nuclear codes again. And what makes me scared is that the people around him do not care about him so much as they care about power. And if Donald Trump is as incapacitated as he looks, then guess who's running the show? It's JD Vance and the crew of Project 2025, which is what they want. So for me, I'm like, I look at this and like there was no part of me that was laughing because I'm just like, oh, the race is razor thin and in 20 days, he could be president again. Got it.
Yeah, I actually just made a video about this morning, that it seems pretty clear that the Republican Party is going to do anything they can to drag this guy across the finish line. Even if they have to weekend at Mar-a-Lago him. And if the corporate media doesn't have this blaring on the front page of every single newspaper every day, then that suggests to me that they want a president JD Vance. And listen, Jen, this is a difference in degree, not kind, right? We've seen. I'm going to play a couple of quite short clips to see what we've been dealing with for a long time now. Here's one recent rally.
Very quickly deflate. We are going to take inflation and we are going to deflate it. We are going to deflate inflation. We are going to defeat inflation. We're going to not.
Yeah, that's what happens when you can't course correct, you idiot. We're going to deflate, and defeat inflation. And then we're going to get together with a group of people many of us have never heard of before.
Many Azerasians in our room.
Pretty sure he meant Arizonans. So,
I thought he was talking about Asians. I was like, wait, what? What about
Azerbaijanis and Arizonans? It's not clear. It's not clear, just Jen, as it was not clear last night if Donald Trump even knew where he was for most of the evening. And I say that the media needs to make a really big deal about this. And yet I have the headlines, but I forgot I needed to convert them. So I'm just going to read a couple. It started with the AP telling us, and I'm so glad they did because I thought something else was going on. Donald's Pennsylvania town hall turns into impromptu concert after medical incidents. The only medical incident I saw was the one happening in Donald's head. So there's that. And then we had this beautiful, beautiful write-up from the always helpful New York Times that said, and so Donald, a political candidate known for improvisational departures, made a detour. Rather than try to restart the political program, he seemed to decide in the moment that it would be more enjoyable for all concerned, and it appeared for himself, to just listen to music instead. Mr. Trump had his staff fire up his campaign playlist, standing on the stage for about half an hour and swaying to songs as his crowd slowly dwindled along with the rest of his mental capacity. I mean, what else does he need to do?
Did you add that along with his mental capacity?
Yes, I did. I was extemporizing.
If Donald Trump, as you have said, dropped his pants on stage and defecated in front of the audience, the New York Times
I've never said that because
I'm adding that.
Okay.
And the New York Times would call that a expressive, symbolic,
a work of art.
Yeah,
they would
call it
a commentary
art installation
on the current state of the republic. I mean, this is ridiculous. Even the Washington Post got this right. I don't know what's going on at the New York Times with that Sulzberger dude, but if they don't have pictures of him on Epstein's Island, then he's just outright core fascist himself.
Right. Exactly. And of course, actually, I want to do a pop quiz. Waj, I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's very long. We don't need to hear too much more of Donald, but this was during the coherent portion of the rally last night. So my question to you is, what question was he answering?
I want to get away from gas. And I have friends, they're into the cooking world. I'm not. I just like to eat. But they're into the cooking. And I don't know how you feel. It sounds like they feel that gas is much better than the electric for cooking, right? And they have this thing about, they want to put gas out of business, right? No gas. You know the amazing thing? We don't have electric in this country, but we have all the gas you can use. We have oil and gas. That's what we have. And even the cars, if you look, they want to go with all electric cars. California is having blackouts every week, brownouts, blackouts, and then they come up with rules and regulation to go to all electric, but they can't even supply what they have. It's so nuts. We're going to get, number one, your utility costs. You heard me say it before. Your costs will be down, and we're getting rid of all the electric. If you want electric,
okay, just wait. I'm playing the whole thing because just wait for this.
The only thing you can't have is a hydrogen car, right? You heard me say that, right? Because you know what happens? They have a new car. They say it's great, but it's got one problem. You know what the problem is? Every once in a while, one will blow up. And if it does blow up and you happen to be inside of it, you're in bad luck because you're not recognizable. Do you know that? It's the new thing, hydrogen. I said, no, thank you. I don't want it. I don't want. They called the wife. That's not my husband. Oh, yes, it is.
We now know what Melania got him for his birthday. So, Waj, what was the question that prompted that fascinating disquisition on gas, electric, and hydrogen or something?
What are you going to do when the liberals take away our gas stoves and our meat? And that was his improvisational response. And I was looking at Kristi Noem's face the whole time because I think it's very interesting. If you go back, don't do this to yourself. If you go back and look at Kristi Noem, it's there. You could just zoom in on her face, and there's a look of just, oh my God, just smile. This is the cult. This is the Faustian bargain. Just smile, make him look good.
I'll do this with my hands.
Yeah, and this is the woman who murdered a puppy. It was like watching Roseanne Barr shocked at RFK Jr. When you're not the craziest.
The puppy murderer is like horrified by this, right? So like that just goes to show you. I think it's two things that are clear here.
Wait, hold on. By the way, you're completely wrong. That was not the question. The question was, what are you going to do to help small businesses?
My bad. This is me.
Wow. Thanks.
We're trying to be logical. Come on.
Even in my limited improvisational capacity, even though I didn't
no longer play reindeer games with me.
Yeah,
sorry.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I think two things should be noted here, and like you, Mary, I didn't laugh at it, even though I will mock him. Is he lacks the stamina. He canceled the CNBC interview today. He's not releasing his medical reports. He didn't do 60 Minutes. It is not normal, folks. And I have the gray hair here, and some of us are middle-aged. We could tell you, for a presidential candidate to go to a rally, in the middle of the rally, where he's supposed to answer questions, say, I'm not going to answer questions, and then for 39 minutes, play music and just sway like an awkward penguin, and then leave. And then, by the way, at that rally, an attendee passed out. And as the attendee was, I don't know if you saw it, the photos of the man being gurneyed away, he told him to lose weight. So this is the type of person whom Republicans believe has the character to be the next president of the United States. They're going to weaken and Bernie's him, right? And the reason they're going to weaken and Bernie's him is, like you said, Mary, is the agenda remains the same. Project 2025, white Christian nationalism, right-wing authoritarianism. And the big news, in addition to him lacking the mental capacity, because he did talk about Hannibal Lecter again. Didn't answer about small business, went back to Hannibal Lecter, danced, couldn't answer questions. When he did have some lucidity over the weekend, he said he will invoke the military and National Guard against U.S. citizens, against radical leftists, which can include pretty much all of us. And then a few days ago at Operation Aurora, that's the name of a speech he gave at Aurora, Colorado, he would invoke the Alien Sedition Act that has been used to intern Japanese Americans in World War II. And he said he will deport undocumented immigrants, which is why, for the first time, many sober people have echoed what we have said and finally said this man is acting like a fascist, and not just a fascist, they use the N-word.
Right.
Nazi.
But watch,
that N-word.
How is Kamala Harris going to pay for the Medicare expansion to provide long-term home health care for seniors?
She should just dance. She should just play some music. She should play her 80s music and dance on the stage.
Yeah, we're going to get to her rally in a second. But Brian, I want to just remind everybody that over the weekend, 2 things happened. One,
just 2.
Well, okay, sorry. 20 trillion things happened, 2 of which were the following. The Republican candidate for the presidency of the United States referred to his opponent using the R word, which I don't like saying. Let me. In the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, editions 1 through 4, mental retardation was a diagnostic category. So it was an appropriate term to use clinically. It's never been an appropriate term to use as a slur, however, and the Special Olympics says the R word is hate speech. And actually, it's not in the DSM-5 anymore. They refer to intellectual impairment now to be in line with education and medicine. So yes, as a slur, Donald used the R word to describe Kamala Harris. And this lovely thing happened in Jupiter, Florida.
There we go. White power. Hell, Trump. Yeah. Make America white again. Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, because like that's ever been a thing that it was.
Jupiter, loving it, loving the good weather, blue skies. Woo! Make America white. Let me see that sign, brother. Let me see that sign. There we go, man. My pillow, 1488.
Yeah, because we all know what 1488 means. So those 2 things happened. I didn't see either one on the front page of any national newspaper. What? Seriously. So do we just have to hope that they are going to focus on this like decompensation that we witnessed last night, or what?
Well, first, a lot to unpack there, but you're right. And I'm going to start by thanking everybody for being here and making my day a little saner, because being with you guys makes me realize that sometimes I'm not alone as I sit there and battle against the forces of stupidity. Also, I want to give my apologies to Dr. Henry Jones and say that my boy, we are pilgrims in an unholy land, because that's the only thing I could think of as I watched the Nazis parade by. As far as the media, look, both sides of the equation hit the media. And sometimes they're right, we're shit. And sometimes it's just because they don't like what we have to say. But in this particular case, what bothers me is that we're concentrating in the media on the shenanigans sometimes, and we're not telling people what's at stake. And that particular instance showing that particular thing is not only shenanigans, but it does show you what's at stake. And that's the most important thing, is what's at stake. So we're refusing to cover this at our own peril, because as Waj and you and Danielle and Jem and everyone has pointed out, he has said he's going to use the military against his enemies. Now, some of them try and qualify that and say, oh, he just means against illegal aliens. And that's not what he's saying. He's saying he will use the military against his enemies, which, by the way, if you've forgotten, includes us, right? The press. Right. So he wants to come after us. And so if we don't cover this as it is, the danger is that we are going to, it's like the old saying, I didn't scream when they went after so-and-so. I didn't scream and then nobody was there to scream when they came after me. The problem is we're not letting people understand what's at stake in this election. And the problem with that is reflected in the fact that this race is still supposedly as close as it is. Now, I don't believe, I can't find a poll yet that I trust. I actually got a phone call the other day from a pollster. I think it was Rasmussen, but please don't, I'm not for sure. But the questions were so leading that they were asking me. It's the methodology used these days is to further enforce and enhance whatever you believe in your own informational silo. So I don't believe any of it. What I do believe is that when I talk to people out who are even Trumpers, they're going, this guy's batshit nuts. And so there are people who are saying they're for Trump who aren't. And at the same who won't vote for him. They may not vote for Harris, but they're not going to vote for Trump. And that's as good as a vote for Harris. And there are literally dozens of people that I interviewed that way. And Joe Walsh, not the guitar player, but the other one, has always told me that, he's spoken to thousands like that. But in the last week, and why it's really good to be here, is that I've had emails from a variety of different people, from Anthony Scaramucci to Michael Cohen to Tom to comics and comedians and celebrities all going, hey, is this as crazy as it appears? And I tell everyone to relax and vote. At the end of the day, I do not believe that if you turn out numbers, there are more registered Democrats and Republicans. You got to turn out and vote. And as far as Donald Trump dancing for 39 minutes, they will drag his carcass out there. And it looks like the way he danced, he's already embalmed. So it is already a weekend at Bernie's. I was looking for the no strings on me. I was looking for the Pinocchio strings as he was dancing because it looked horrible. And at the end of the day, finally, when it comes to this thing about mental retardation, what I find so offensive about that, I've had family members who are autistic. My aunt was severely autistic and they called her retarded for years. It was always a slur. It has always been a slur. And
unless you're the person's doctor and yes, always.
Yes, unless you're the doctor. Yeah, exactly right, Mary. And then but this is, not only could he defecate on stage, but I think the guy could come out and plead insanity. Yeah, I'm batshit nuts. And they'd still vote for him.
Well, okay, so
sorry,
no, and listen, I mean, if that's
to lose weight,
that's where we are, then the fact that this atom is a coin flip is enough to I don't know, keep everybody up at night. But I want to shift gears a little bit to talk about two things. First of all, Vice President Harris had a rally. I'm going to play a clip from that. So I want to talk about some about her messaging. And then also one other thing that seems to have gotten completely lost, that on two occasions at least now, Donald Trump has said he is going to solve the Russia-Ukraine situation. And while during the transition, which I think is illegal. But let's first take a look at this clip from Vice President Harris's rally, if I can get it in there. Okay, look at me.
And so after all these years, we know who Donald Trump is. He is someone who will stop at nothing to claim power for himself. And you don't have to take my word for it. I've said for a while now, watch his rallies. Listen to his words. He tells us who he is. And he tells us what he would do if he is elected president. So here tonight, I will show you one example of Donald Trump's worldview and intentions. Please roll the clip.
Okay, and then, obviously she played a supercut of his being a traitor and saying horrible, violent things. But I mean, one thing, Adam, that and this has been a problem for so long, do we focus on Donald at the expense of policy? Is there one thing we should be focusing on? Because it always seems to be, well, there's so many things that he's done wrong that none of them, it's like, it's a wash. None of them matters. So is the Harris campaign getting painted into a corner by, well, they are, because the media is so terrible, but like, is this a good strategy? And if so, how do we pound policy as well? Because her policies are hands down better across the board.
That's a great question. I think three things came to mind watching this last night. One, they were both having events simultaneously and she had no idea he wasn't going to speak. But in the end, her playing those clips, he still got to speak, and he was on full display who he really is while he was doing whatever he was doing. The second is, I think what we saw was a prosecutor on stage, right, who was literally putting forth evidence in front of a jury, which was those attending, those watching. And she has a history of prosecuting criminals, and that's who this is. To your point in the question, you know, I think that he has deteriorated quite a bit compared to where we were, you know, even maybe 2 weeks ago. And so what's interesting here is the closing argument is Donald Trump is unwell. And this has been flipped on its head, because Donald Trump's entire campaign was that Joe Biden is unfit to serve and be in office, is unwell and is sick. And now we've got Kamala Harris out there, you know, not only highlighting how dangerous he is and how unwell he is. You know, she tweeted that she hopes that he's okay, but he's doing what he's doing. So it's quite the sort of interesting flip and way to close this out. And, you know, as much as I love policy, I think people know their lives have been better getting past COVID. And Joe Biden was the right person at the right time, doing that with Kamala Harris. And so she has some room, also not being the president, to kind of focus on who she's running against.
I just want to follow up for a second, Adam, because I'm wondering if Vice President Harris should make the case that she has to do this because the media has so egregiously abdicated all responsibility. One of the things I talked about in a video I made this morning was how when Biden was still in the race, his cognitive decline, you know, his age-related cognitive decline was the only thing we heard about. And then as soon as Donald Trump became the oldest person ever to run for the presidency, cognitive impairment wasn't even an issue. And it's still not when we see him, like his brain melting in front of our eyes for 39 minutes last night. Do you think I kind of would like to see her go a little harder at why she's the one having to spread this message? I mean, I think she's handled the media beautifully, and I really like where she's shown up and where she's not bothered to show up. But I think a little bit being more direct to help people see, like, they're not showing you this stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. And I think maybe we'll see more of that. I think that's one of the great things about a show like this is I think you've got a number of people in the campaign who monitor things like this and take all of these things into account. But she's going into the lion den, right? LYIN apostrophe. She's going to appear on Fox News. And
Kamala is going to the lion's den.
By all accounts, possibly going on Joe Rogan. And I thought, you know, someone pointed out yesterday that if she does that, you know, he's kind of like Donald Trump, in which he really wants his guests to like him. So we'll see how that appears. But no matter what, she is who she is, and she can hold herself up to any of these folks, and she's a lot smarter than all of them. So I think that, look, for years, people have said, you know, go back to the Al Gore race, right? Like, we shouldn't be having Bill Clinton out there. She's got Bill Clinton campaigning in Atlanta and other parts of Georgia, showing up at McDonald's, vote by vote by vote. And so I think that there are a lot of things that they're doing that for years as Democrats we've heard we shouldn't be doing. And then we look back when we lose an election saying we wish we had done that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And time is a waste, in Danielle. We are, oh God, a chill went down my spine because it's really cold, but also because it's like suddenly, I don't know, weather. It's very cold, but I also got a chill down my spine because it is literally 3 weeks until what exactly? I don't know.
You know, I want to say this about all of the things that Adam said, because he was totally on point. Like, I think that a couple of things. One, this election, what makes this different, not just that we have one of the candidates for office is absolutely deteriorating and insane and a fascist, but that we're seeing Democrats really institute tactics that we have wanted, we have wished for, we have screamed about. If you've been in this game for a while, for nearly 2 decades, at least myself, right? That I've been talking about messaging. I've been talking about going door to door. I've been talking about not forgetting communities until it's 3 weeks until the election, that it is we have to understand and kind of give credit where credit is due, which is that the Harris Walls ticket from July until now have tapped into communities, marginalized communities that are oftentimes ignored by Democrats. And not only have they tapped in, but they've come up with plans for them. Right. So while everybody wants to attack, for instance, Black men about, being peeled off by the Republicans and being peeled off by Donald Trump, she put together an entire economic plan for Black men. I've never seen one of those done. Somebody asked, and this was, it was funny, haha, but funny, scary, posted on social media and said, what's Donald Trump's plan for Black men? Somebody quote retweeted and said, police immunity. That's what the plan is, right? Like the plan, so I think that we pay a lot of attention to the ways in which Donald Trump is absolutely terrifying, and we should. At the same time, I actually want to give applause and credit where credit and applause is due, which is that this campaign over the last 3 months has done decades worth of work that Democrats haven't done right at all. And I think that, we're going to bear the fruits of that come the end of this election, because I keep saying to folks that November 5th is not election. It is, considered election day. It is the last day to vote. Like that is what November 5th is, because you can vote right now. You can still register to vote and vote in many states. So the last day of the election is November 5th, but the election has been underway.
Yeah, unless you're taking guidance from Donald Trump.
That's right. Well, no, I think it is important to point out that November 5th may be the last day for Democrats to vote, but January 5th is the last day for Republicans to vote. So thank you, Donald. I think it's very important to get that message out there. I know a lot of Republicans watch the show. So if you don't believe me, I'm going to play this again, because this is your guy telling you when the last day to vote is.
Votes on January 5th or before,
No, I think January 5th is good. Love the Trump combat knife too. Very subtle. Very subtle.
What was, just out of curiosity, what was the January 5th thing though? I mean, is that like a dog whistle? Because there was violence on the mall on January 5th.
You know what? I think that he just misspoke.
Yeah.
And well, look, I
don't think he did, because the plan is January 6th. The plan is on January 3rd for the new House and Senate to be sworn in. And if they manage to keep the House and flip the Senate, then they're going to basically throw the presidential election to Congress. That is the fucking plan.
Yeah, I'm not saying it isn't the plan. Waj has to leave in a second. So, Jen, I want to get back to you, but Waj is no, don't apologize. Waj has to leave in a second. I don't know. Waj, I just think that's giving him way too much credit for keeping complex thoughts in his little mind. I'm not saying it's not the plan. I'm just saying he stumbled on it.
I agree with you. I think you have a tweet out, came out 10 minutes ago, which is fantastic. It's a weekend at Bernie's with Donald as Bernie, and Washington Post and New York Times hoisting him up. This is a man who doesn't have the stamina to campaign. And according to Lev Parnas, who I never thought I would be quoting, he just did a tweet and he said inside the campaign, whether or not he's accurate or not, I don't know, but I'm just reporting it. He said that after that rally yesterday, even the insiders are really worried whether or not Donald has the stamina to last for 21 days. And they were really concerned by what happened. Again, folks, we've been around. A presidential candidate 3 weeks before an election does not just literally malfunction on stage for 39 minutes. And when he was lucid, talked about Hannibal Lecter and hydrogen cars exploding. And when he has a moment of
lucid is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. You mean comparatively
engaging in improvisational exercise to do both sides fair analysis. And I think this is very important. You know, in our chat right here, I posted a link from Washington Post where, and you all mentioned this, and I think Daniel mentioned this, the Democrats are onto something. If they keep hitting him that he is the oldest candidate, he is not fit, they need to keep playing the last two clips from yesterday and the weekend again and again and again. Because in Wisconsin, they have shown, and Aaron Blake, I think from Washington Post, just showed this graph, that a lot of voters are now saying what they said about Joe Biden. I think he might be too old. I don't think this guy's fit to be president. Compare that to a vibrant, young, laughing, stylish Kamala Harris. And I think when it comes to the game time, when it comes to people actually voting, they're like, do I want the guy who's the oldest president, twice impeached, criminal, rapist, man who can't pronounce words, talks about Hannibal Lecter, has a concept of a plan, short-circuited, and oh, by the way, wants to unleash the military, or do I want Kamala Harris? And so I agree with what Daniel and others were saying, is that if Democrats are a bit more aggressive against corporate media, because everyone hits corporate media and establishment media, even liberals do now. If she goes a little bit more and says,
they always did,
you know, she goes, what are you doing? And like just quotes New York Times, improvisational exercise. What are you doing? I think she'll win over a lot of people, and she'll tap into that righteous anger and passion. You know, last thing I'll say is when I write about this on my Substack, I'm not promoting it, but when I write about it,
why not?
Well, I mean, when I write about it, you will be.
No, I mean, promote your damn Substack, Waj. Come on.
So many people are like, you know what they say? They say, thank you. You're not gaslighting us. You're keeping it real. This is honest. That's why they come to your show, Mary. They're like, when we see what we see in MSNBC sometimes, CNN, when we read these headlines, this is completely divorced from the reality that we're experiencing. And we just want someone to just tell it like it is and stop spinning it. So I think what she did yesterday, that collage, that video, if you didn't see it, folks, you should see it. It was really impressive. 1 minute long. Rinse and repeat every single Democrat, because it shows you the clear division between these two candidates. There's no both sides. And it also shows you the stakes. I have to now go and be a masochist on Piers Morgan for 45 minutes, where it'll be one liberal against four Republicans. Wish me luck. And if I could come back in time, I will. Sorry that I'm leaving early.
No. Thank you for being here. As long as you could. And Piers Morgan does not deserve you. That's some conversation for another time. Okay, so Jen, we just saw the Republican candidate for the president lose what's left of his mind last night. There could be all sorts of contributing factors. It could be a neurological thing. It could be some kind of neuropsychiatric problem. It could be just his decades-long untreated psychiatric illnesses. It could be
one line away from a bloody nose.
Yep. Well, that allegedly. It could be all of those things, some combination of those things. Putting this country in serious peril. Like that the Republican Party is trying to foist upon us that guy for the most important job on the planet. There is not above the fold. Oh, well, no. So in the middle of the page, there is a on the Washington Post about his swaying and bopping for 39 minutes in unusual town hall. Is that descriptive of what happened? I do not think it is. Ahead above that, like the second headline, for many black men, Harris fails to catch fire. Okay. And then the ever reliable New York Times, this is the headline, with Donald facing threats, security and politics intersect as never before. Were politics and security intersecting during his psychotic break? I do not think so. And then it's not there anymore, 6th. But there was a headline about how Harris is struggling to hold together the splintering Democratic coalition.
What the?
So, Jed, the question is, how do we get a sustained message out when that's what we're dealing with? The reason the email story in 2016 that still gives me PTSD is because it was unrelenting for weeks. I mean, that one little nothing story was covered more than all policy positions of both candidates combined. If they covered this properly, then maybe. So what, I mean, do you sometimes feel like you're screaming in the void? That was sort of a rhetorical question because I know the answer for all of us is yes. But seriously, what do we do with that kind of coverage?
I'm glad you asked me, Mary, because under normal circumstances, I would be screaming into the void and having nightmares about screaming into the void. You know, the version of the nightmare where you're trying to call someone on your phone and your phone doesn't work and all that stuff. But because I become almost entirely numb because of all the personal tragedy that I've experienced, I can respond to you rationally, which is I always knew that there was a double standard for women, especially Black women. But honest to God, I had no idea that I've heard of goalposts moving, but I am honestly shocked at the way in which the mainstream or the corporate media cannot look themselves in the mirror. And when they got rid of the public editor, Margaret Sullivan from the New York Times, I think that was the end of the press actually being a source for, I would say the corporate press being a source for investigation, truth seeking, and holding power to account, and became, and I know Brian, became how many eyeballs. And so the honest to God thing is they're looking, we talk about clickbait. I mean, they literally are looking at their ratings. And this is why, it is, I can't even begin to say this. I mean, I can't even find the words, but I will say, at least the Washington Post uses the word bizarre in their headline.
No, they changed the headline. Bizarre to unusual.
Well, I have the screenshot, so it was bizarre.
But still, that tells you something.
I mean, the whole thing is together. I got to tell you that the biggest problem is his being a fascist to the core, and because everyone around him is a fascist to the core, and that is why he says he admires Xi for ruling with an iron fist. That is why he wants to be a dictator forever, that not one day. That is why he wants to use the military to round up his enemies. This is freaking insane. And I do think it's bizarre that he was in a fugue state. Either the meds started to kick in or he was really tired. Like, I think what kind of happened, honestly, because sometimes when I'm teaching and I'm really tired, like the last thing you want to do is sometimes I teach a 2-hour class and you just walk into the room thinking, oh my God. And when I was a younger teacher, to deal with that, I would just let's watch a movie or whatever. Well, I can't do that anymore, right? And I think he didn't like how it was going. He didn't have when he got that music going, he forgot where he was. But to me, I don't give a shit, because the problem is when he knows where he is, he wants to kill all of us. And I, again, don't know why this isn't a front page story. And by the way, he has not only but her fucking emails, but the national security documents. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, when will people look at this and say, Jesus Christ, people really hate women, don't they, in this country? Because that's what it's about also.
Listen, it's women, it's Black people, it's Black women. Yes. But
I mean, I can't even, that's what it is. That's what it is. And
but I think
that doesn't get fixed. By the way, let me just say this thing. Those people who hate us are not going to change between now and November 5th. But what is going to change is people who don't want to be associated with that. And here's the one good thing I will say. This morning when I got my Starbucks at the corner of Long Lake and Telegraph in Oakland County, and I drive out of the parking lot, this is a very big intersection, and there are a cluster of signs. And there was a sign for, all these Republican candidates, right? Not a single one for Donald Trump. So
I like that kind of anecdotal evidence.
But you know what? I don't see those. Now, someone tweeted me, well, why don't you go to Macomb County? Well, I will. I'm going to go over to Macomb County and I will check that out too, because that's not so far from where I live. I'm going to start counting signs. Now, they could be closet Donald Trump voters, but when I see people in the Republican suburbs wanting to distance themselves from Donald, And anecdotally, I know several who have actually cast their vote for Kamala Harris, including someone who has not voted for a Democrat since JFK in 1960. I see bellwether here.
Okay, but Adam, I have a problem. I have a problem with that too. First of all, what happened last night was a serious psychological or neurological breakdown of a human being. If he were anybody else, he would be in a hospital right now. Okay. So there's that. The what I see as the problem, Adam, in the home stretch here is that it seems like we have to fix on one issue. Fascism doesn't seem to get any play because it's the whole Republican Party, and it wouldn't be fair to them, would it now, if we didn't treat both sides equally? All right, so nobody cares about policy in elections, and here we are. So the idea that we're left with, the serious psychological breakdown of the Republican candidate, and that the Republicans are going to be allowed to distance themselves from him and will get split tickets or something is like makes my head explode, because what needed to happen in 2020 needs to happen even more now. The entire party needs to be, and I mean this metaphorically, and I mean this at the voter booth, annihilated. And in 2020, right, Republicans outperformed Donald Trump because COVID, the economy, threats to democracy, etc. Now, all of those things, except for COVID, which is apparently still in the rear view for everybody, they don't care anymore. They love the fascism. So if they're allowed to separate themselves from him just because he's losing his friggin' mind, that's problematic.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of to build on what Danielle said earlier as well, look, winning campaigns, winning elections are about addition, not subtraction. Every single thing that Donald Trump does is about subtraction, minus maybe, his support for white men. But at the end of the day, he only cares about himself. He doesn't even care. He enjoys seeing, family members humiliated. And there's something special that's happening throughout this country. We always talk about how, yard signs don't win elections, but on my street, someone put out a Trump sign. And now every single house on the street has a Harris Wall sign. And if you go, there are people that hate politics. They hate being associated with politics. They are making Harris Wall signs. Their kids are painting rocks and putting them in the yard. And, I think the only thing that I can sort of point to in my lifetime that's similar to that was, when Barack Obama ran. But this is very different. And the reason it's different from 2020 as well is Democrats were not able to go door to door because of COVID. And there was a huge shortage of the PPE that was needed to get out there and do so. Now, this campaign is in the hands of folks who are just owning it, being super creative, and having a good time while they're doing that. So I think at the end of the day, no pun intended, that trumps everything that Donald is doing. And, look, we all want an overwhelming victory. But for instance, in Arizona, right, I think Gallego is gonna win pretty handedly. But I think Kamala and Tim Walz are going to win, but by a smaller margin, right? And we may have some big wins and surprises, and Senate races like in Nebraska. It remains to be seen. But I do think we're going to win, and I think that it is because of the things like Danielle pointed out, where Kamala has got a plan for Black men, while we still don't have a healthcare plan from Donald Trump.
Oh, come on, we've got a concept of a plan. Don't be so harsh.
That was before what we saw yesterday. So
yeah, well, now there's not even he probably doesn't even know what a concept is at this point. Right. Just a quick story. My grandfather had Alzheimer's, and at the end of his life, he started forgetting people, and he forgot them in order of their importance. So the least important people were forgotten first. When he forgot me, he was nicer to me than he'd ever been when he didn't know who I was anymore. The only person he didn't forget was Donald. Wow. The only person Donald isn't going to forget is Donald. So Brian, I
love that line.
Well, it also happens to be true. I'm going to have to make another video. So here we are. and we
Here
all
we
have
are.
solutions to problems, and we all know what we think is the right way to go about covering things. But again, the media seems to want its horse race, and they seem to want to keep it as close as possible. So what
What do
like
we
I don't
do?
even know if I have a question actually, because I'm just so frustrated.
I have an idea.
Mary, can I just
okay.
add one thing to that,
Yep.
that point about the media? I just think, I guess my point is that everything that's happening around the country transcends all this shitty media. And a lot of folks, I think a majority of folks now are getting their news from independent media like this.
Well,
And so like a lot of it's noise, but I don't think it's actually changing votes.
I think that
Okay.
lets a lot of people stay in their own philosophical conundrum as well. You stay inside your own ping pong ball, and you know the problem with the press. There is a problem with the press, but folks, it's been going on for 40 years. Started with Ronald Reagan, has been precipitously declining ever since. If you've got 95% of what you see, read, or hear owned by 5 or 6 corporations, you got a problem. And so whoever gets, if God bless Kamala Harris, I hope you get elected, because folks, again, I want to reiterate the simple fact that our democracy is already dead. The Supreme Court put a bullet through its head earlier this year. And when they gave a president unlimited immunity for official actions that only they can sanction, that's called a star chamber. And it's right out in the open. So your only hope of reviving the democracy, if you care about a democracy, is to not put Donald Trump back in office. And don't take my word for it. Don't take any of our words for it. Take the word of the people who worked for him in the first administration and the 70,000 Republicans who are trying to make sure that he doesn't get back in office. That should be reported on more often, and it isn't. And the problem in the press is simply because too few people own too much of it, and it's all about money, and it has been forever. We're not here to inform you. We're here to entertain you. And if you want to change that.
He's speaking about them, not us.
Yeah. And if you want to change that, then when she gets in office, push for breaking up media monopolies. I have asked for, I continue to push for it. Mary, to your point, there is no president and no administration and no Congress since Reagan who hasn't directly or indirectly led to where we are now. And it's got to change. And the only hope for changing it, I dare, people say the world isn't ready for a black woman to be president or for a woman to be president. Well, I am. And she has more common sense. And for those of you who don't know, I do know both of these candidates. I have been in the press pool with Harris. I was for 4 years with Donald Trump. If you think that the constructive criticism that I offer Harris in any way equates to the moronic, imbecilic, lack of vision, insanity that is Donald Trump, you're wrong. Everyone deserves criticism, but there is no choice in this race. It is simply between sanity and insanity. It's not a person. It's not Harris versus Trump. It's democracy versus Nazism. Say it, because that's what it is. They're out there telling you they're Nazis.
Right.
That's
exactly. They're
go.
flying the goddamn flag, guys. I mean, it's not like we have to interpret anything. And
break up the media monopoly.
I think honestly, one of the, I mean, the reasons that I want Kamala Harris to win are legion. One of them, though, is because I want to start being able to take Democrats to task again, so we can make us better, right? Like I'm so tired of fighting this rearguard action against fascism because it doesn't get us anywhere. And that's why, Danielle, to your point, the fact that Harris is really breaking it down and making plans for all kinds of communities in this country that have been ignored until election, right before the election, is huge. And that will give the rest of us permission to stop pulling punches, because we can Kamala Harris is the kind of leader we can expect better from, right? Like, if we disagree or whatever, we can press, we can expect better, because she's eminently sane, she's brilliant, and she's incredibly skilled, right? So, sorry, go ahead.
No, finish. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, well, I mean, you could say whatever you want, but we're almost done. So I kind of wanted to end with, if you had a direct line to the Harris campaign, given all of the stupid bubble, given all of the givens, what would you say is the most effective tool or strategy that they should be employing? It could be one they're already doing, or it could be something that needs to be done differently, or that isn't being done at all.
So I think that there are a couple, a couple that they're doing already, and a couple that I would just like amp up. And I think that what they're doing already, I mean, yesterday with her literally at a rally running the clips, that you mentioned earlier, like running the clips of Donald Trump, like, oh, like I'm talking about it, but let me provide you with like my TED talk and a PowerPoint presentation, as Adam said, like prosecuting the case. And to your point, because the media isn't doing it. I think that people are, one, very aware that the media isn't doing it, and you're seeing them, peel off. But I would continue doing that. I would continue just, not relying on the middleman of corporate mainstream media to do your work for you, because they've already decided that they're in the bag for Donald Trump. I gave them a pass in 2016, but it's been 9 fucking years, and they haven't gotten their act together because they don't want to, not because they cannot. The other thing that I would say for them to continue doing is, again, what they've been doing, which is going directly to the people and having conversations, knocking on doors, sitting down in small venues, holding these town halls and these rallies, going to the communities that have been long neglected by the Democratic infrastructure, which they have been doing. And I think lastly, what I'll say is that, with 3 weeks to go, she's doing a right-wing media tour that Adam brought up, that I find absolutely wild. And the reason why I find it wild is because I'm like, you're not afraid. Like, you're not afraid to go into their den of lies. Like, whether or not she maybe brings a bit of consciousness to like 1% of the people that are listening, the fact is that she's not going on there to convince people. I think that she's going on there to show that she's a fucking boss. And that while she'll sit down with Fox News knowing that they're a bunch of racist, misogynistic liars, that Donald Trump is out there canceling interviews left and right because he doesn't have the endurance. He doesn't have the mental acuity and capacity. So like, look at what I'm doing. I'm going into your home, right? And I'm gonna sit down at the table and I'm gonna lay my case out, and you're fucking running scared. And I think that is the clear breakdown between her campaign, what they're doing, and what Donald Trump weekend at Bernie's is happening over at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true, and I love it. Jen, any advice?
I guess I'm gonna give the advice Michelle Obama gave, which is do something.
Yeah. Oh, thank God you went with that one and not the other one. No, I know you would never go with the other one.
No, but and also specifically
do something and go low.
I'm asking white men specifically to do something other than go on Twitter and blame white women for not voting in their own self-interest. I would encourage them to go out and talk to their cohort, because I can't tell you how many times I have seen that. And you know what? If you think that makes you down with everybody else because you're laying it on white women, we already know there's a problem in my demographic, and I'm doing what I fucking can to try to get them to wake the hell up. And yes, it's a huge disappointment, but I need white men to do their part too, and not just use the misogyny that they directed us. Maybe just kind of look inward and think about, what it would look like for Donald Trump to, what it's already like for all of us.
I mean, it's such a good point. I mean, seriously, like white men overwhelmingly vote for Donald, and yet white women are the problem. I mean, yes, white women are a problem, but they're not the problem. It's fascinating. We only hear about white women. Maybe, Adam, it's because there are reasons not to have faith in the majority of white men. I don't know. But anyway, you're
uneducated white men.
Yes. Except for all of the Yale and Harvard graduates at Fox News and in
JD
Congress,
Vance,
like Senator Foghorn, Leghorn, and all those guys. Anyway, Adam, your last word in terms of any strategy that the Harris campaign could utilize?
I just, keep putting everyone out there and, being a campaign where good ideas don't go to die, and saying yes. And I'll just say, I love Doug Emhoff and the fact that Joe Scarborough asked him why he thought that, Donald Trump wouldn't be doing a second debate. And his response was, "Did you see the first one?"
Yeah, I love that. Okay, Brian, your last thoughts about strategy.
She's a prosecutor. Give us the closing argument, hit it hard, and get out there, everybody. And look, don't listen to us. Don't trust your own critical thinking and vote, and do your own research, because folks, this isn't between it's not between Harris and Trump. It's between democracy and Nazism, and you only have one choice. So she's got to close it, and we got to vote.
And guys, we have one choice and we have one chance. This is it. This is our last chance to get this right. So we're going to get it right. Just a quick thing about eyeballs. First of all, I want to thank everybody. We're almost at 135,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do, because it really is important that, you don't have to take us, completely at our word, but you can trust us. Like we do the work, and we are an alternative. We will tell you the truth, even if it isn't pleasant. We will keep you informed, and we will entertain you. I mean, I think we're all pretty funny people here, but we'll do it in the context of
not me. I'm dead serious.
Understanding. You know what? Yeah, you really are. Maybe we just need to give you less airtime because you're just far too humorous. I think Brian has more glasses and sunglasses than anybody I've ever known in my life. Anyway, see, but seriously, we do the work here, and every voice that gets highlighted is a voice worth hearing, and it's very important that more people have access to the work we do. So please, if you haven't already, subscribe. Also, we're this close to another milestone. Our first video to reach 500,000 views. Which came out just a few days ago, actually. So it's about Donald's medical history. So you might enjoy it. Check it out. Become the 500,000th viewer. I don't know how we can keep track of that sort of thing. But anyway, we're going in the right direction. And as you know, Jen, Danielle, and Brian, and Adam all have their own YouTube channels. They're all doing phenomenal work there. So watch all of them. And I couldn't do this without you guys. And of course, we wouldn't do it without all of you watching and commenting and all that. So thank you so much for being here today. I think it's Tuesday. Yes. So we will be back Thursday at noon Eastern for the next episode of the Nerd Avengers. In the meantime, stay safe, be kind, and keep hanging on by your fingernails. It's great to see you guys. Bye.